Sippers, welcome to this week's episode of the Tea With Me podcast with me, Shane Todd. Should I move the camera closer? Yes, probably. Should I have decided on whether I was going to do that before I recorded the podcast? Yes, 100%. But these are crazy times we're living in. There's a global pandemic. My hair doesn't have product in it. It's crazy out there. And the most surprising thing about both those things is that I haven't started wearing product. Here's the thing. I go out once a week. I go to the house once a week to do the radio show. And that's when I do my hair and have a shave. So, you gotta, what's that phrase? If you, something about Beyonce is the phrase, like, if you want me at my Beyonce, you have to accept me as, if you want me as my Beyonce, you have to accept me as my Katie Price. I think that's the phrase. So that's just the way it is. And look, Sippers, it's a good week. It's a good week because gig bookings are starting to come back in again. Your boy's starting to get back there on the road. There's interesting things happening with a show next year that's being rumoured. I'm hearing stuff on the grapevine about it. And it should be more than that because it's me we're talking about. But I just let other people do things for me. And let's just say next year could be an interesting year stand-up wise. That's all I'm going to say. Also, I talked last week about the fact that I did my first gig back, which was in a garden, in my man Vittorio Angelone's garden. Now, you're probably going, Vittorio Angelone, is that a guy who was part of the Gambino crime family? Is he in a Netflix documentary about the mob? No, Vittorio Angelone is a stand-up guy from Belfast who changed his name by default to that because his real name's Robert Stevenson. And I did a gig in his garden a couple of weeks ago. It was unbelievable. So good, so well ran. The socially distanced comedy club was brilliant. I finally got the video of that and had a watch of it. And it's so annoying because if I wasn't already doing this material as part of the new tour, I would just put the whole thing out on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. So I might just start cutting up some clips from that and putting it out. And also, I'm going to have a rambly start here, but that's just the way it is. As I said, there's global pandemic on, so bear with me. I'm going to have shows in September. They're being worked on at the minute, but I know that people need their fix of the money toad. They need that MTF money toad fix, and you're going to get it. You're going to get it because I may or may not be at some point in the future be doing some stand-up shows with some friends, and that's just the way things are. And of course it's going to be all socially distanced, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because Britney Spears' dad, aka producer Dan, has said that if I do, genuinely, he's going to cut my feet off. He said he's going to send Vittorio Angelone around to cut my feet off. He's going to make me an offer I can't refuse. I'm going to make him an offer I can't refuse. A lot of people say my Godfather impression is 10 out of 10. Enjoyable. Sippers, we've got loads to get through. We've got listeners' questions. We're going to do TripAdvisor, all that good stuff. But before we start, let me plug the Patreon. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. You get the bonus episode on a Monday. You get merchandise giveaways, ticket news. So those shows I was talking about, we'll release those on Patreon before anywhere else. That's just the way we does it. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. You sign up, you support the podcast. It's a beautiful thing. On with the pod. What I want to do is something I haven't done in a while, which is TripAdvisor. We go on to a local restaurant TripAdvisor, but not like a wee independent one, because that might affect their business. We look at big, what are they called? Big conglomerate companies, and we'll see what people are saying. We've done the Apple Green service stations. Lest we forget the guy who said the Apple Green service station on the way to Lisburn smelled like shit. By the way, he was talking about the toilets. He's like, the toilets smell like shit and piss. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, my man, but that's what you're going to find there. This week, we are looking at another fast food restaurant. And put it this way, some people aren't loving it. This is in Lisburn. And it's McDonald's, okay? Now, what I'm going to point out, as we do with all the TripAdvisors, is there's a lot of amazing reviews. Some people are absolutely loving it. I am only focusing on the ones where people are ripping. So I'm going to say that this is not a bad business at all. My lawyers instructed me to say, but there are some people who are giving off, and that's what I'm here for. Hungry Man 369, you know by his username that if this doesn't go right, he's going to be raging because, as we've established, he's a hungry man. He gives it 1 star and says, this is the tagline, can't get simple enough order right. Can't get simple enough order right, so what would they be like with a complicated order? Was in for lunch today, simple enough order, Big Mac meal with no cheese and Galaxy Caramel McFlurry with extra sauce. Now, that's cheeky, and also I don't like that extra sauce, because the amount of sauce that is on it is the amount of sauce that's on it. And I hear people that are like, extra sauce, here, can you give me a gravy chip but give me extra gravy? Those people want to have their cake and eat it, or in this case their McFlurry, and eat it with extra sauce. That's such a 7-year-old thing to ask for. Give me extra sauce? Fuck up, hungry man. I got a Big Mac with cheese and a McFlurry with no extra sauce. Never going again. I've lost faith in McDonald's brand. 70% of the time they get the order wrong. It's not rocket science. I mean, it is quite big to lose faith in a whole brand. We're to have faith in a brand, but how's he gauging the extra sauce? How's this guy figure? I mean, cool, I had to put my t-shirt down there because my belly was sort of going over it, and my t-shirt is a Lakers one. It says 23, but then it just looks like it says CS, just because of a little roll of fat. That's funny that he's lost all his confidence in the brand because they didn't give him his extra sauce. Alan S says missing food 3 times this week drive-through. Alan, stop, man. Because that's too many. That's too many times a week to go through the drive-through. Same order each time, and some items missing. Bad vibes when you reach home and meal is ruined. No, I lose faith for you, Alan, when you say bad vibes. Hey, dude. I mean, producer Dan will absolutely love that, because whenever the surf conditions aren't right, he says, "Oh, bad vibes," and then he says, "Cowabunga." But Alan says, would expect 1 day as a one-off and my fault for not checking, but 3 times on a different day is unreal. Staff should take time and check. I mean, that's that old phrase. You get my order wrong at McDonald's once, shame on you. You get my order wrong at McDonald's twice, shame on me. You get it wrong 3 times, I need a new diet. Alan, you need a new diet, homeboy. Dead Candy says, okay, I'm not going into an endless rant here. By the way, this is 6 paragraphs. It's McDonald's, you like the food or you don't, but I can't remember the last time I left this place and my order was correct. There's always at least 1 or 2 items missing. Hey, number 1, check. Number 2, stop going. Why do these people act like there's nowhere else to go? I know the great sages of the internet love to point out, what do you expect for a $5? Actually, I expect to get what I paid for, end of story. Time and time again this happens. Stop. Go. That's the definition of madness, isn't it? Doing the same thing but expecting different results. So Dead Candy, I don't know if that's your real name, I don't know if that's a nickname, I don't know what it is, I don't know if it's a place, but what I will say is this: take your $5 and just go to a different place and enjoy yourself. Check your bag, guys. It's the only way to find out what your order, it seems. It's only what your order was. Yeah, correct. Check your bag. It's the only way you're going to find out if your order's right. Well, yeah, obviously, you fucking dickhead. If a manager's reading this, you need to get the staff to read and check the order before handing it over. Yeah, I mean, I like that, though. I like that they know how much it angers him, and then whenever he comes in and orders a fillet of fish, they just put in a Ronald McDonald face. You know? Carly, what a disgrace. My 7th time going and coming away paying for half the food I didn't get. I'm sorry, right? I feel like a little bit of a rant coming on here. There are other places, and if your argument is, well, McDonald's is cheap and I can't afford food, actually you'll find out that some really healthy food is way cheaper than McDonald's. Go to Lidl and get yourself a rucksack of lentils and boil them up with some chickpeas and fucking enjoy yourself. But these people who are like, it's wrong every time, you might be the problem. You might be the problem, Carly. Halfway down the motorway, or else I would have went back. What a joke. Well, how do you know your order's wrong halfway down the motorway? Because if you're driving, you shouldn't be looking inside your bag. And also, don't eat McDonald's in the car. Have McDonald's in the car because it's going to make the car smell like McDonald's. And also, at the time, you always think that's not a bad thing. And then you realise the next time you drive the car, that is not good. That is not good. Colin, rubbish drive-through service. Spent 30 minutes stuck in the drive-through with no apology. Given cold food and a melted McFlurry. Management of drive-through is shocking. Worst burger I ever tasted, Ella. I dropped in here about 10 p.m. on a Sunday evening. Hey, who are you, the Fawns? What are you doing dropping into places? You can say you went in there, but why is someone dropping in? Hey, I'm just dropping. I mean, producer Dan drops into the beach to go and hit some good vibes. But don't say you dropped in. Oh, I'm just going to drop in here. You went. And also 10 o'clock on a Sunday evening. The Lord Jesus Christ did not want you to be eating burgers at 10 o'clock on a Sunday evening. The Lord Jesus Christ wanted you to be asleep or in the bath. One or two things, but definitely not both at the same time because you will die. There were customers, but it was not busy. I ordered the signature classic burger with no ketchup. Oh, you're hard. It did come with no ketchup, but that was about all it was right with it. it was a pair of marigolds. Marigolds. You say tomato, I say tomato. Don't correct me. Having tried the same burger in Ipswich a week earlier, I was looking forward to it. I just find that weird that you were in Ipswich. First of all, I didn't even know Ipswich was anyone had actually really been there of people that are not from Ipswich. What were you doing in Ipswich, Elle? Get in touch. The inside of the burger was more gristle and it was barely lukewarm. It can, by the way, capital L, capital W, like lukewarm as a guy. It contained no red onions. The lettuce was fine. The place itself was well staffed. As a consequence, the place had a few uncleared dirty tables and the floor had not been brushed. My personal advice would be to avoid unless you're desperate. So hungry. It's not the famine. One more. W. Doot. Don't know if it's his real name. I would enjoy it if it is. Oh fuck, here's the tagline. Son's sick after visiting here. Well done. Well done, Ronald and the fucking hamburglar and all your mates. Son's sick. Nice one. The son's sick here. Okay, well done. Well done, guys. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. He's not loving it. He's shitting his brains out. I usually visit the Carrie Duff McDonald's as the staff are nicer and it's much cleaner. Why do you need that from the staff? Are you going out of your way because the staff say hello? Oh, that's nice. They always ask me how I am. But we were meeting people at Sprucefield and the kids were hungry, so I thought I'd give it another try. They got the order wrong both recent visits and my son was very ill after eating here. It wasn't very clean. Maybe the reason he was sick is because you're talking so much shit, W. Dude. And the staff aren't nice to me. Hold on, one more. Woeful. Call with my wife for a lunchtime drive-thru. Who says romance is dead? Both of us ordered the same. Oh, cute. I'll get what he's getting. But boy, were we disappointed. The burgers must have been sitting in the heat cabinet for too long, waiting for the lunchtime rush. The chips were pale and undercooked. So disappointed. I couldn't complain at the time as we were rushing to a meeting. But a drive-thru of this caliber should have the food served perfect. I mean, it sounds like he was going to be meeting also with his wife. Why does this guy work with his wife? Why do they go to McDonald's together for lunch? And why do they order the same thing? There's so much wrong with this. Not happy. Waited 45 minutes for the drive-thru. Complete mess. Wanted to visit the new McDonald's as I heard so much about the revamp. I heard, who's here? Why are you hearing so much about it? I can't move. Everywhere I go, people are talking about the revamp. Have you heard about the revamp at McDonald's? Oh, what have they done? Oh, 6 new urinals in. Oh, happy days. Where are you going? To see the revamp? People annoy me. I think it's because I've been a dad for a month now. I just have no time for these people. And if I saw that one of my friends were one of the people that had commented on this, hey, we wouldn't be friends anymore. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. My son's shitting himself. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Taking him up some grapes and Lucozade. I mean, I have very, very, very little sympathy. But yeah, what do you want? I mean, McDonald's is literally McDonald's. What do you expect? I don't expect, first of all, people are like, wouldn't recommend this restaurant. Let's be honest, it's convenience food. Now, should I be saying this? No. Did McDonald's sponsor an episode of Boytown? Yes. Are they likely to do so again? Probably if I hadn't been doing this for a long time, the TripAdvisor McDonald's. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And did they send some Big Mac special sauce dust for us to try? Yes. And was I able to eat it? No, because I have a dairy allergy. So I made Dave Elliott eat it for the video, and we had to reshoot some stuff quite a lot. And to be honest, he had 2 full pots of it, and I think after that he felt a bit sick because he'd eaten so much of it, not because it wasn't nice. And now I fucked it up even more because I've said it made him sick. It didn't make him sick, it's only because he had had so much of it and he had already had his dinner. But sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. Yeah, I was supposed to be back in studio, but here's what happened. Somebody else has the key. I gave somebody else the key. I arrived down to shoot with Big Mike, and we could not get into our own office. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. And then I drove the whole way to the Lisburn McDonald's, and I just wanted the staff to pick me up, and they didn't. All they did was look at me and say, "Can I take your order?" And I was like, "I'm going somewhere else. I'm going to carry Duff," because they're going to ask me how my day was. And also I'm just upset in general because earlier I sent Dave Elliott a picture of me with my shirt off, like a progress picture, because I've been working out, and I was expecting him to write back and say, "Oh, you're buff, you know, a buff guy," or whatever, "a cute guy, buff strongman." But he didn't. He wrote back and said, "Why is your hair like that? You look like an evacuee during the Second World War." Now, I was upset because a lot of people died in the Second World War. And for him to say that about my hair, and I also was like, David, first of all, I haven't done my hair because at that point I was just out of bed, and why would I do my hair to go work out when I'm going to have a shower anyway? And also, you're a very much a bald man, you know, so people in Glasshouse shouldn't throw stones, and bald guys should not comment on hair. And then, unless you've shaved it off for a charity thing, in which case you'll be able to have it again soon. But yeah, I just didn't like that. You know, I didn't like it because I pointed it to him when he says to me he's done some workout stuff, whatever. I always say, "Hey man, good stuff, nice boy." You know, I always say "nice boy, cute man," and yeah, I was pissed off. And also the main reason I'm pissed off is because I do absolutely look like someone who would be evacuated during the Second World War, like the other children. Like, definitely, if I was my age now, which is 32, and a father, and they were like, "We're evacuating kids because it's the Second World War," and I took my son down to be like, "Okay, he's going to have to be evacuated," definitely a man would also lift me at the same time and be like, and look to my wife and say, "We'll take your children somewhere safe." And she would go to say, "No, that's actually the father." And I would look at her as if to say, "Please don't say anything because I just want to make sure that I'm safe." I would 100% say, "Listen, don't say anything, it's going to be fine." And then me and the other kids would just go somewhere and be totally safe. I think my granny got evacuated to Strabane during World War II, true story. And I think she was back by 5 o'clock. I think her exact words were, "I'll take my chances." That's not true, but she was evacuated to Strabane. And I remember when she told me that, I was like, one day I would like to go and see where you were evacuated to really like understand it and all. And I've never done that, and I never will. And that again, that's the way the cookie crumbles. That's another one of those things that's unfortunate. I think the thing with me is, the reason I wouldn't have lasted in the Second World War like my granny did, like so many people did, is because I would be very particular and fussy about where I was sent. You know, they would be like, "Oh, don't worry, we're sending you to this place," and then I would get there and I'd be like, "Oh my god, this place is gross, where's the Nando's?" And they would say, "This is 1942, Nando's hasn't been invented yet," and I would say, "Not good enough," and I would just to spite everybody, I would just hang out in the real bomb hotspots during the Second World War with my arms folded, sitting on the ground in protest. Speaking of protest, the Dublin Road Nando's hasn't opened for sit-in yet, so I'm ready to do some sort of Tiananmen Square peaceful protest, lie in front of a tank, lie in front of a chicken cooker, I don't know, whatever I have to do. But you guys need to sort that out, because there's a lot going on in the world at the minute with the global pandemic and Ellen, and I don't know what's happening. People say Ellen's not nice, she's a rude person, she's bullying people, and you know, I gotta say, I see a lot of myself in Ellen, but only in a physical way. You know, Colin Geddes was the first one to make that joke that I look like Ellen DeGeneres, and it was one of those ones where the first time he said it I was laughing, but then when I turned away I was crying. Like that gif of the guy who's got the mask on but behind it he's crying. That was 100% me. But you just have to accept these things, that I look like Ellen DeGeneres, who's like 61 or whatever she is, with the same hair, same body, and generally just the same attitude towards people under us. Oh, matron. Yeah. Last week in the podcast, me and Aaron McCann were talking about conspiracy theories and how we thought it was all a bit mad, and then somebody sent me some, and then I looked at them and I was like, nobody's mad, these all make total sense. So now I'm into it. And and I think that I don't want to start a conspiracy theory, but sometimes when you go to the Sprucefield McDonald's and you ask for extra Galaxy caramel sauce, they don't always do it. But I'll keep my mouth shut. I think WikiLeaks said it all about that. I've got loads of questions here, like as in loads. Like I don't know what the reason for us having this many is, but we have way more than we ever have. But that's good. So let me just see. Hang on. Sorry, this is my fault. I put a video out earlier and it's getting a lot of traction, so I can't actually see the replies. Weird flex. 28 questions. So weird. Why is there this many? Des Bennett, what happens if I smash a mirror before the podcast? Oh yeah, I said if you replied to this you get 7 years good luck, so that's what I need to do from now on. If you smash a mirror before the podcast, Des, genuinely you have to get castrated. And I know that might seem quite harsh, but it is true. You got to take yourself to the vets and you got to get your willy and balls cut off. It's as simple as that. Then you got to mail them to me, and for the next podcast I'm going to wear them on a necklace or an ankle bracelet. You decide. Remember ankle bracelets? I'm pretty sure I had an ankle bracelet, and I'm fairly sure I remember someone in secondary school had a ring on their second toe in beside the big toe and said to the lads, like, what do you think of this? And then everyone really took the piss out of them, and then they were like, no, I put this on for a prank, but everybody, including them, knew that they were wearing it for a fashion statement. And also, maybe that guy was me. It's still on, but my toes have grown, so I can't get it off. Imagine you went to the swimming pool and I was there, just like a public swimming pool, and I had a ring on every single toe, and then you said to me about it and I just got really angry and walked off. LMJ, heard Keith Cruz is out of retirement after the soccer school for the kids videos. Apparently Charlton Athletic are keen to sign him on a 3-year deal for an undisclosed fee. Can you confirm this or not? Sure. 100%. 100%. Very specific, you would pick Charlton Athletic for that. I like it. I like niche football banter. Kasim Ali said, Kasim, where have you been, my man? Because you used to ask a lot of questions on the podcast, and you've sort of gone away for a while. Now that I'm into conspiracy theories, I'm putting two and two together here, and I think you're definitely involved in the in the Sprucefield McFlurry conspiracy. So you gotta let me know where you've been, man. Kasim says, by the way, Kasim, looking at your profile picture on Twitter and love the jacket. Genuinely true. He says, if Uncle Jack helped you off an elephant, would you help Uncle Jack off an elephant? Now, I don't know if I should get involved with this question because I don't know if there's some sort of sexual innuendo. But if a man helped me off an elephant, would I then help him off an elephant? He says, hashtag ask Shane the main, aka the man toad. No, the man toad. There's a lot to take in there. I don't want to be called the man toad because that sounds like a science experiment that went wrong, and it means I look like some sort of freak. If someone helped me off an elephant, would I help them off an elephant? I think I would say I was going to, and then I would just run away because I was worried I'd be trampled on by the elephant, because that happens a lot in certain parts of the world. People get trampled on by elephants. Gary Fletcher says, surely it's illegal for a left midfielder to wear a number 2. And did I notice you dropping on some baby oil while playing on Saturday? Yeah, there's basically a footballer called Adama Traore who plays for Wolves, and he gets like a physio of the club to baby oil his arms up for a match so defenders can't catch him, which I like a lot. Yes, Gary, you very kindly stepped up to the plate whenever I put the greatest tweet of all time out during the week and said, my football team have had a friendly opposition drop out on us. Does anyone have a team that was up for a match? And you were like, yes, my team. And then we played, and the score is irrelevant. The score is beyond irrelevant to the point that I'm stuttering. That's how irrelevant it is. It was 3-1 to one of the teams, and that's all there is to it. And it was probably the team that no one expected to get the victory. But again, it's not important who that was. We won. But no, actually, do you know what? That was the first game we played all season, and it was so good to get playing football. I don't talk about football in this podcast really, but it was so good to get playing again. And Gary and the boys, shout out to Broomhedge McGabry. Now, Broomhedge McGabry FC are the name of the club, but Broomhedge McGabry definitely sounds like the nickname of someone's uncle's friend. Big Broomhedge McGabry. Why do you call him that? You don't want to know, mate. one of those things. But Gary, we appreciated the game and it was good fun. And I think everybody just enjoyed a bit of time in the sun. Yes, I played left mid and I wore number 2. Reason being, manager at the start of the season said, "What do you see yourself playing?" I said right back. He goes, "Right, no sweat. First game of season, here he is, left wing." And I'm just happy to be out of the house. So I was like, yes, 100%. And Gary, I think you'll agree, I played like a young Lee Sharp. So I'm happy to play there for the rest of the season if selected. What I also liked is there was some fans down, some Broomhedge McGabry fans loving it. So it was a good time. Danny McGeehan says, favourite Premier League... Why is this now the football podcast? Favourite Premier League goal of all time, or just favourite goal of all time? You can't include screamers you've scored yourself. That's not fair. The pros, correct. Otherwise, I don't want to talk about it, but I would choose the goal I scored at Seaview against former Northern Ireland International and Premiership goalkeeper Alan Blaney, where I loved him from about 50 yards. So, my favourite Premier League goal is Paolo Di Canio's sort of scissored volley at a bit of an angle. That's my favourite. Just because Di Canio was a madman, it was a great goal. Katrina says, or Katrina, tomato, says, how does it feel to be the pride and joy of North Down? It feels great. It feels really, really good. A lot of people will be like, I'm not. Don't be silly. Like when someone gets called a hero, they go, no, I'm not. I am the pride and joy of North Down. In fact, of County Down. In fact, of Northern Ireland. In fact, Europe. So, it feels good. The love is given back. Because I absolutely love North Down too. Not just the Mike McGoldrick, like so North Down. McGoldrick loves North Down, but I even love it more. I love it. I was back in Hollywood last week for a failed attempt at doing the podcast. And genuinely, I know I might get COVID doing this, but I kissed every centimetre of pavement on Hollywood High Street. And Hollywood's so well kept that, no joke, whenever I came back up from doing that, my lips were more moisturised than they were when I went down. Chris Blakely, with mask wearing now compulsory, are people brushing their teeth more or less? I'd say way more, because you're gonna get that back. If you have bad breath, you're gonna really get your own breath wearing a mask. So I think you gotta increase it. Like I'm a two brushes a day kind of guy. Like not just one brush stroke. Like I brush my teeth in the morning at night, but I might incorporate a lunchtime brush. Harity. Given the current political and economical climate we live in, great banter started the question, what is your most listened to podcast, playlist or songs in the last, say, 3 months? Rolling Stones, Hamilton soundtrack, podcast. Check out Tim Dillon's podcast, who's an American comedian. That's what I've been listening to a lot recently. I've started listening to, don't mug me off here, it's either DC Fontaines or Fontaines DC. One of the two. I've been listening to them. I like the new album. I think it sounds good. And I'm aware they're one of the bands everybody likes. And so I was like, let me check them out. And they are actually good. Because a lot of times people are like, you gotta like these guys, and then you listen to it and it's not good. So that's what I've been listening to. Scott Miller. Where did you get the inspiration from McGoldrick and Cruz? The inspiration from Mike McGoldrick, I've said this before, but it came from working in Royal North Yacht Club in Kiltraw. I was a dishwasher there when I was like 15, 16 for a couple of years, and it was actually really good crack. Being from, the other side of the tracks in Hollywood or whatever, but what I was compared to Kiltraw Yacht Club, so it let you meet all these larger than life characters. I'd never met like posh people like that ever in my life before. Because despite having probably the golden voice of his generation, I'm not a posh guy in real life, but you met all these extravagant, loud characters, and they're actually really nice people, a lot of them, and some complete bellends, but like everywhere. But just all these voices of how you doing? I'd never heard that before, really. So because it was in my head a lot years later when I was thinking about comedy characters, I was in Ned's bar, the Maypole bar in Hollywood, which I greatly miss, and got chatting with a load of mates, not comedians, and I was like, I want to do a comedy character and blah blah, and then we all just started chipping away at this character. I was like, what about like what about like a yacht club guy? And it just went from there, and we talked about like what way you would dress and all that, and that's where it came from. I think we shot the first video the next day. Keith Cruz came from the fact that I love football, and somebody told me that there was a football agent who's representing like Premier League players, Scottish Premiership players, and he was from Belfast, so it came from there. The idea of like a Belfast character who was also like a big time football agent, and then that guy I'm talking about is called Jerry Carlisle, and then I think Jerry might have got paranoid that I was just like fully taking the piss out of him, so then Jerry and I got chatting a bit down the line later, and I was like, hey man, just need you to know that I had never met you or like heard you speak or anything or whatever beforehand. And luckily anyone who knows Jerry will understand that the two characters are not the same. Jerry's a very respectable guy and Keith Crew's 100% isn't. So that's where that came from, just the idea that there's a guy involved with the football world from Belfast. Neil Armstrong, shout out to Neil Armstrong, first guy on the moon or second, I don't care. He says, how did you react when Shawn Michaels put Marty through the barbershop window in WWF breaking the Rockers partnership? I think I said on the podcast not too long ago, I'm not really into wrestling anymore, but it was back in the day. That's before my time, so I don't know. Although Marty, because I think that's Marty Jannetty, but the way you said Marty, it just sounds like a guy. I mean, if there was an and in between Shawn and Michaels, it would sound like a hate crime that goes on in Belfast, a sectarian crime. Did you hear that Shawn and Michael put Marty through the barbershop window? That's happened before in Belfast, 100%. Liam, is Livingston's chances of staying up hampered with the departure of Lyndon Dykes? Now, why is this a thing? I think people think they're asking questions to Gary Lineker. People said I look like a young Gary Lineker before, by the way, which I despise that because he has big ears and loves crisps, and I don't have big ears and I don't like crisps. So you've asked me this, I think, thinking that it's a very niche question and I won't know the answer, and I promise you I haven't looked this up beforehand. Sipper's honour on this, Scouts honour, whatever, paramilitary honour. I'll say this: Lyndon Dykes has gone to QPR. I hope I haven't mugged myself off and got that wrong, for maybe $1 million or $2 million or something. So it depends. And by the way, QPR love doing that, buying players from the SPL, and sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. I don't think Lee Wallace worked out. The keeper isn't starting, and they send a defender as well. It looks like I'm looking that up, but I'm not. And I didn't let you see the phone long enough to see if I was looking it up, but you just need to know that I'm not. So it depends if they can replace him. But if a club like Livingston has like $1 million or $2 million to throw about, then it could actually be a good thing. I don't know. Don't ask me questions about Lyndon Dykes again, please. Mark McGuigan, will Linfield win tonight? Jesus Christ. Will Linfield win tonight? I don't know, because all their opponents are dropping out because of COVID, and I think Linfield are going to win the Europa League, and they're going to win the Champions League and the World Cup and the Brit Awards, because everyone's dropping out, so they're just getting the win. Alicia, any more Mike McGoldrick videos? The withdrawal is real. What I'm doing at the minute, Alicia, is putting out little clips from old videos, just like quick clips, and I'm going to do that for a while because I'm working on a new series of Mike McGoldrick videos it's going to be quite different. I feel the need to slightly change McGoldrick a wee bit, maybe to freshen him up a bit, because I want to keep it original, so yes, there will be McGoldrick. You'll see some old school McGoldrick coming out, just wee clips here and there, and then you will see like a new batch of McGoldrick videos pretty soon. But I want to get them filmed properly, because I've filmed a lot of stuff myself in lockdown and it looks kind of shit a lot of the time, even though it's hilarious. So I want to get that done properly. Owen Matheson says, how do you think you'd get on the standard octagon fight with 200 toddlers? What would the main method of attack, and how would you be able to take them down before they got the better of you? I don't know if you mean toddlers as in like young children, or if you're calling my fans toddlers, which I think we should. In fact, we are doing that, sippers and toddlers. Sometimes sippers on toddlers and vice versa, but if I was fighting 200 toddlers, I don't know if they have attack mode really, so I don't think it would be difficult, but Jesus, I don't know. I think I would play like, they're all into white noise. My baby isn't really, but they're all into white noise to help them sleep, so I think I'd just whack on some white noise and then just go for the pin. Simple as that. I back myself 100% against 200 toddlers, not an issue. Owen Cocky says, if tea was made illegal, what lengths would you go to procure a bag? Listen, I will go to no... there isn't a length I won't go to procure a bag. You can quote me on that. How much would you be willing to pay for one tea bag? If tea was made illegal, 200 quid. 200 nope, not a bother. It would have to be a Barry's cup of tea. Barry sponsored the podcast for sure. Not the amusement park, although if you guys want to as well, up in North Coast, you definitely can do. In fact, anyone sponsor the podcast, because that'd be class, because we like money. 200 quid, but 200 quid. But then if you said, oh, mate, 250, I would give the extra 50, so probably 250 or somewhere like 500 quid. No issue there at all. And by the way, I pay cash. Rory Arkins, do you think prime Mike Tyson would knock out a Tiger with one punch? For some reason I read that as, do you think Mike Tyson would knock out Tiger Woods? And I would think 100%, because I think Tiger Woods was knocking himself out with all the sleeping pills back in the day, even though he's knocked all that in the head. Would he knock out a Tiger one punch? Mike Tyson, 100% yes. Because tigers they're used to like getting clawed at by other tigers, but I don't think many of them take a right hook. So yeah, the way Mike Tyson's going with these exhibition fights at the age of 78, I think you will see this fight at some point. Scott Miller, would you rather eat chocolate flavoured shite or shite flavoured chocolate? Shite flavoured chocolate, because that's not going to do me any harm, although Jesus Christ it will, because I have a dairy allergy. Either way, I'm going to be in bad health, so I just take both. Andy Mack, would you rather... No, I don't do that question, Andy Mack, because it's the worst podcast question ever and you need to bring back a better game. Would you rather fight 100 duck-sized horses or one horse-sized duck? No. Change that. Get a better question in next week, please. DJ Dixon on the decks. If I've broken a pack of 3 mirrors, in brackets smallish, how long should I leave, and that's Irish for small, how long should I leave the lottery for? Cracked up my own joke there. And then Sherry Russell Under writes, see if you've actually broken mirrors. So I think there might be a domestic going on there. I don't believe in all that bad luck stuff. You break a mirror or whatever. In fact, I start my day by breaking a mirror over my head, and it's never done me any harm in terms of bad luck. So I think you'll be sweet. Leave doing the lottery for... You're never going to win, so just don't do the lottery at all. And I don't know if the lottery still costs £1, but if it does, just spend that £1 on McFlurry and ask for extra sauce. Stephen says, would a weekly junior football podcast work? Guests would be players, managers, refs from local leagues, do a roundup of results, then talk shite and hear stories from the guests for an hour. You could get people to send in clips they have from games too. Alan McColgan, ideal guest, someone with about 40 years experience in counting. Yes, I think that would be good crack, a junior football podcast. I think it would totally alienate the people that like this podcast. Well, most of them. In fact, no, because everyone who's written in this week has written a question about football. Yes, I think it would be good, and I do want to do a football-based podcast of some sort as like a side podcast, as maybe like a short series. So yes, I would genuinely consider doing that, unless you're saying you're thinking of doing it, in which case I've just stolen your idea, so sorry. Jamie McKevitt, if you could have 5 celebrities around the table with you for a meal, who would they be? Probably 5 celebrities. I don't know, off the top of my head, Harry Styles, Liam Payne, Zayn Malik, Louis Tomlinson, Niall Horan. And why? Because that would be so cute and it'd be a great time, and we could talk about just like being cute young guys. In fact, if all the rest want to go away, just Harry Styles 5 times over would be great. Con Gribben says, what's a worst gift you ever received from someone? Yeah, one year my dad took me to look at Scramblers. Right, whenever I was about 10, 11 years old, he took me to look at Scramblers. And this was like the week before Christmas. This is terrible. I should have phoned the charity about this. He took me to look at Scramblers. He was like, what do you think of these? And I was like, they're all amazing. I really wanted a Scrambler, even though with hindsight I wouldn't have liked it, because I went to my cousin's a few times and it wouldn't go above 5 miles an hour, even though my dad used to be a professional motorbike racer. But my dad took me to look at Scramblers. I was like, this is brilliant. I think I'm getting a Scrambler for Christmas. Woke up Christmas morning the next week. My dad got me a pair of Scrambler gloves in a box, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I thought the Scrambler was outside because all the curtains and blinds were closed. And then I opened the curtains and blinds, and like subtly, because it was like, if he has just got me the gloves, that's so shit, but I'll pretend I like it, even though they were good gloves, and I did enjoy it when I was cycling my bike around, as in my push bike. And then there was no Scrambler, and that was probably the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And I just had to go out cycling with my mates wearing these big massive Scrambler gloves, and they were like, why are you doing this? And I said, well, I've got them, may as well use them. And also I got a full-size helmet. I didn't get the helmet, but I got the gloves, and that was the worst gift I ever received, even though I liked the gloves. Cheers, Dad. Kane, who's the most hateful, as in the wrestler, who's the most hateful Northern Irish celebrity? Money Toad isn't getting into that. Money Toad is a big hit on the showbiz circuit. You guys know I go to all the Ulster Tatler events and mix it with the elite. I'm an influencer. I get a lot of gratification out of that. You guys know I buy my followers as well, 100%. If you check my followers, which you can do to see if someone's bought followers, you'll see that 78% of my followers are in Bangladesh. And I'm okay with that because everybody else is doing it, so why not? And in that, you've got a little bit of satire, a little bit of sass, and a lot of facts. Because it's happening, and I don't know why it's a thing. Why are people buying followers? Stop buying followers. Genuinely, you're asking about the worst gift I've received. There are local influencers, and people all around the world, when their parents are like, what do you want for Christmas? The people being like, 2,000 followers, please. It's weird. I think you can tell. And why are you doing it? And also, it's like, because what if we're up for the same job? And that's what it comes down to. The amount of followers you've got. And then I'm like, but why are 87% of this person's followers in Nepal? And they're like, but maybe this person is big in Nepal. And I'm like, how? Because they host a local radio show. And by the way, that's not me looking down local radio shows. I also host a local radio show. I'm just saying, I don't think I have many fans in the Democratic Republic of Congo, but all these people do. And Spotlight and BBC should do a show about it. And then all these people should go to Magabry. Should go with Broomhead Magabry. Matt says, when will you get a listen to The Waffle as guests on the podcast? Crack will be powerful. So yes, the Waffle, which is the Irish League podcast, I'll go on their podcast, but they're not coming on mine because Sly, but also this is not a football podcast, and a lot of sippers that listen don't like football. They're like, no, they like croquet and makeup, so no, that's not going to happen. But I'll go on the Waffle podcast, no problem, as long as it's over Zoom. And we just talk about my goals. Jack Core says, who would win the fight between Mike Tyson, Brock Lesnar, a gorilla, or Tony Carlin? I don't know who Tony Carlin is, so I'm going for him as the wild card. Last question, Chris Bailey. I feel like let's go out with a bang. How many Lego can you fit up your bum? That's a really immature question, and the answer is the Death Star. And it is the Death Star. I don't know. I was never into that as a kid. There are, and still to this day as adults, are people who absolutely love doing that kind of thing. I wonder what I could get as a kid. I never had that curiosity. I put something up my nose once, but that was it. So that's really it, Chris. I don't know what to tell you. Folks, it's a shorter podcast this week. We're loving it. It's all good. Patreon.com/teawithmepodcast. I'll have a guest on the Friday podcast. Keep sipping your tea. Stop asking me questions about football. Over and out. Britney Spears' dad. #free me from him. All the best. Cheers, guys.